This video serves as a follow-up to my previous video, Everything We Know About the Old World, and as such it is highly recommended you go and watch that one first before watching this one if you want a full picture as to what we know about the game. At Warhammer Fest we got to learn a lot about the Old World, and it added a lot of clarification and confirmed some rumours and speculation, so in this video we will go over everything we learned about the Old World. So firstly, it has been made quite obvious now that Warhammer, the Old World, has a double meaning, both being the phrase for the world that was, as well as the term for the land that makes up the Empire and Bretonnia, stemming from the real-world terminology for Old World being used to refer to Europe, Africa and sometimes Asia, and New World referring to the Americas. And this is what is going to be the focus of the game initially. The best way to picture this is to cast our minds back to Warhammer Total War 1, the map and factions included in that, but there's going to be a few extra ones. There is still no confirmed date for the Old World, and they were very keen to make that known. Speaking of dates, we got some clarification on the timeline too. The game will focus on a section of the time of Three Emperors, just before the War Against Chaos. No mention about how far it will stretch back or how and if the story will progress into a War Against Chaos has been mentioned yet. Bretonnia vs the Tomb Kings will be the focus of the launch of Old World, which is something I am personally very excited for, and makes a lot of sense given they are two armies that did not find their way into Age of Sigmar in any way. They confirmed there won't be any starter boxes, as they are not treating Warhammer the Old World as a beginner-friendly game, but rather one that will be catering to experienced wargamers, which I honestly think is a bit of a misstep and one made based off what I often found to be inaccurate stereotypes, as I think most of the difficulty to learning the game actually comes from learning how to use rank and file units from the perspective of a skirmish style game like 40k and Age of Sigmar. This does not mean there won't be a launch box. Expect there to be a Bretonnia vs Tomb Kings box, possibly similar to the Age of Darkness box, rather than Dominion or the various starter boxes for 40k. We also got reconfirmation that all the kits and ranges being made for the Old World will be done in plastic and Forge World resin, which, whilst isn't new news, is good to have confirmation of. We also got to see our first new models for the Old World too, a Tomb King and a Bretonnian Paladin on foot models. They are incredibly faithful and beautiful looking Forge World minis that will look good in existing fantasy armies and look like excellent signs for what is to come for the new ranges for these factions. Returning old kits will be in plastic, resin or metal, with them specifically stating Finecast will not be used. This is fantastic news, as it means there is a good chance truly iconic models will be making their appearance in their full metal glory, rather than the Finecast versions that got released, which had all the drawbacks of working with resin, but often none of the benefits, and were perpetually plagued by manufacturing defects. The races confirmed to be getting new stuff and focused on at launch will be Bretonnia, Empire, High Elves and Wood Elves, as they are the ones that feature on the map of the Old World. As to whether this also includes Border Princes, we don't quite know, but I'd expect so, given that they are also on an illustrated map. Given that the Tomb Kings aren't on the map, but they are one of the main focuses of launch, we can also expect there will be some other factions too. As to the other races, Orcs and Goblins, Warriors of Chaos, and Vampire Counts are likely going to get some love and attention as antagonists to the previously mentioned factions, as they were all specifically called out during the reveal show, and we got to see the severed head of an orc on the Bretonnian's base. All armies and units compatible with 8th edition fantasy will have rules in the Old World. There will be rules released for free, with armies getting army books if and when they are properly introduced into the Old World setting. By that logic, the armies getting rules in this way should be the following: Beastmen, Bretonnia, Chaos Dwarves, Demons of Chaos, Dark Elves, Dwarfs, Empire, High Elves, Lizard Men, Ogre Kingdoms, Orcs and Goblins, Skaven, Tomb Kings, Vampire Counts, Warriors of Chaos, and Wood Elves. Dogs of War and Vampire Coasts do not seem to be getting any rules as it currently stands. In regards to Cathay and Kislev, they will be making their appearances much later on in the Old World, once they've covered the factions that will be the focus of the launch. In these rules, old named characters like Karl Franz, who were not alive in the Old World, will be getting a suitable generic profile, such as a general with a hammer on a griffin. New base sizes for units will be announced before the launch of Old World, and bases will be available for purchase for those who want to rebase their miniatures for the new game. A question that got asked during the Q&A session after the reveal show, which I've seen a few people trip up over and get confused about, is the use of Age of Sigmar models, so I'll try and clarify myself here. As Age of Sigmar happens long after the Old World, and is a very different setting and game, Games Workshop won't be making rules for factions and units introduced into Age of Sigmar for the Old World. Meaning there won't be any Idoneth Deepkin or Stormcast Eternals, for example, in the Old World. If you play an army that exists in both Old World and Age of Sigmar, and Age of Sigmar has updated models for that particular unit, then you should be able to use those updated units on square bases in the Old World, for example the new Saurus Warriors. And that is everything we have learnt at Warhammer Fest about the Old World. What do you think? Is this good news or bad news? Are there any factions you wish would get new stuff sooner? Or are you just happy to know your faction is getting rules? In any case, let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, make sure to like the video and consider subscribing, as I will continue to make videos on the Old World. And if you really enjoy the content, consider supporting me via Ko-fi, as it will help me get better equipment and improve the quality of these videos. Also, be sure to check out my live streams either here or on Twitch, where I usually do hobby hangouts, building and painting Warhammer and Battletech stuff, with the occasional related video game thrown in. Like with any other YouTuber, you'll find links in the description below. With that all said and done, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.